Smit Shah, the Director for Drone Federation of India, as well as Nagendran Kandasamy, the founder and CEO of Throttle Aerospace. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on today's edition of Startup Central. Smit, let me come to you first. When you look at the amount of red tape that has been cut, yes, some red tape has been cut. If I could get your reactions to this, and are we now at par with other developed countries when it comes to drones?
Hey, thanks, Nayantara, for inviting me over. Straight away, answering your question, I believe after 2018 regulations, 2020-21 March regulations, this is really a fantastic move. And yes, we are at par with the global regulations. We are now treating drones analogous to the automobile industry rather than the manned aircraft industry, which was very much required.
Okay. If I could now go across to Nagendran to discuss more about this. Nagendran, is sky literally the limit?
Yeah, thanks a lot. This is a paradigm shift I can see in terms of it's a new pathway for all the drone entrepreneurs, and people are really enjoying this, and industry is really happy, and we really thank our regulators for this big step towards the budding industry.
Smit, let's just address the elephant in the room as well. I won't say elephant in the sky, but this is coming close to the heels of what we saw in Jammu. It's also happening after what we believe the Prime Minister chaired a crucial meeting. Put it all in perspective for us, because there's one thing to have a draft policy. It's not the first draft policy. Public comments have been invited. So when you look at this policy, and in light of what happened in Jammu, and you have seen in the Middle East also how drones have been misused, how confident is the Federation that this is going to actually go through?
So, Nayantara, I think after Jammu, there was a perspective that was brought about both in the media and within the industry discussion forums as well. Which was typically, drones can be the new threat and they pose a significant risk. But our understanding and our opinion has been that no amount of strict or liberal drone policy is actually going to stop anyone from assembling a drone that is usually made out of multi-purpose parts. And no bad actor is actually going to come to the government, register their drones or mandate any safety features. So essentially, anything that you do with the drone policy does not address the threat from drones that is either coming from the stakeholders inside the country or from across the border. So this, I think the government has understood and taken well into account. And liberalizing the drone policy is just going to mean one thing, which is our country to have better drone technology, much meaner, much faster, much advanced drones, and probably the capability to retaliate in any scenario, if required, is going to come from drone technology, which India will probably be on a pathway to lead very soon.
Okay, Nagendran, if I can come to you now. Drones can, of course, be used for delivering medicines, for delivering essentials, something, many of us wish we could have accessed during the second wave of coronavirus. You have been trying to pioneer that. Tell us more about it, how medicines can be delivered.
Yeah, again, this is a first-of-kind approach. It's called an evidence-based rulemaking. Currently, we are experimenting the drones usage for various use cases. Medical is the one among that. And based on the evidence, what we collect, I think this will really help our regulator to form a policy with a meaningful insights from all the consortium who are doing this experiment. And ultimately, if you see this drone, especially the delivery sector, is a very high growth industry. As such, on the if you see the entire world is congestion in terms of the traffic, and we need a third dimension. That's what the air. We need to really democratize the air. So people who really get into this sky, I think there are a lot more opportunities at this point of time here. And also, if you see as an industry, also especially the drone delivery is growing at a very high growth rate, up to 46 CAGR. So that's one of the really opportunity for all the budding engineers, and they're really looking to solve this problem in a very big way.
So, Smicha, the minister, the new civil aviation minister, in his thread of tweets also talked about it's going to be great for startups. The question I want to ask you is that in this absence of clarity, and we still don't have the final notification, we still don't have the final policy, how has it been for startups to raise funds in this era of excessive liquidity? Have private equity, global giants, domestic funds been interested in drones?
So Nayantara, I feel the investment story actually starts because of the history. In 2014, someone tried to do a pizza delivery. So in fact, while Amazons and FedExes of the world are trying drone delivery in first world countries, US, Europe and Australia now, in India actually 2014, someone tried drone delivery experiments. However, probably because of the photo op that was conducted, the DGCA brought a blanket ban on the use of drones. And then we had to go through a couple of draft policies, which led to 2018 policy, which again, there were some issues in terms of operationalization. Then 2020-21 March policy, which again was excessive licensing. So the sentiment till now has been a bit exciting about the technology, but not really confident, and there hasn't been surety on the regulatory side. I believe this policy is worded in a way that when I read across this policy, and many of my industry friends read it across as well, we didn't really find many gaps. So all the existing policies that were in place before this, they had some gaps. There were conflicting clauses as well. But this is very simply worded, very easy to understand, and does not talk about what should not happen, but talks about what should happen, and hence removes all the ambiguity. I believe we have a couple of investment announcements coming up soon, and investors are just going to pick up this sector like anything now.
But tell me something, Smith, money aside, when it comes to R&D, the new policy, draft policy is also talking about giving a fillip to R&D. You've told us about this fantastic example that how in 2014, India was trying to pioneer delivery via drones with pizza. Maybe we could have beaten the likes of Amazon and all in America. But R&D, where is India right now?
Oh, so Nayantara, when we look at the drone technology, typically we talk about three domains. The drone components, then the assembled drone or the manufactured drone, and then the software on top of it. So we are very good at software. Yes, we have been using the core softwares from the open source community. But like other domains, we are good at software. So that's not really where India is lagging behind. When we look at the assembly or manufacturing of drone, we are not at par at various other countries, but we have the capability to design and assemble drones. There is some dependency on subcomponents. Typically, India has never been a consumer electronics manufacturing country. Even when we were setting up factories for phones and laptops and all of them, it actually was a well-established company that came up with their supply chain, set up their operations. And the ecosystem was through their supply chain. It was not really traditional manufacturing that supports setting up of ancillary businesses, and then they build capacity, and then they support other industries as well. So that's not the approach that has been, because of which we are a bit behind in the component manufacturing space. But I believe the policy easing out will actually help assemble more drones, sell more drones, and hence naturally the demand increases, which will motivate some people to even look at the components. However, building some crucial components that are more important for India to develop in terms of IP, whether it is the flight controller or from a cyber security perspective, which is the command control link, so that no one really hijacks the drones very easily, are some technologies that are not really dependent on volumes, So that is something that we will look at, probably companies focusing on and indigenizing for India.
Okay, fair point. If I can go to my next guest now, Nagendran, if you could tell us a little bit, so they've said that you don't need any flight approval now for up to 400 feet in the green zone. And also it's the same thing if you're going to have a yellow zone, 12 kilometer perimeter from within the airports. Is this how it works globally as well?
No, actually, the concept of this NPNT, which is very, very proprietary to India, I think this is something we have tried to do something out of box. And, we also have some teething issues at this point of time, but I think we are at the stage now, things are going much more better. So technically, before this particular draft policy, we need to take a permission for even for a green zone. Now that basically is not there, which is gives a lot of relief to the people they wanted to do on the everyday flying. And also, however, there is some amount of relaxation on the other zones like orange or amber zone. I think the red zone is not touched anything at this point of time. But overall, it's like a more relaxation to people. Most of the people will voluntarily now come forward and try to utilize the system. Having said that, also now the DGCA also we are trying to bring some all new easiness in terms of the GUI or the way that it is the operation. And more, it is more about easiness to attract a huge user base. That's the whole idea behind this policy, I feel.
The other thing I want to ask you about is that, when they're talking about having a single window digital sky, Smith, can you explain to us what exactly does that mean? Explain it to our viewers.
So, Nayantara, digital sky has been a concept that, at least on paper, India conceptualized much before than other countries. Other countries actually went by a step-by-step approach. They talked about registration of drones, training drone pilots, giving approvals in yellow and red zones. And then when everything became overwhelming, they said all of this needs to come on a digital platform. And just like the UPI ecosystem, there will be a central digital platform, and then there will be other private companies that will bring their digital platforms and integrate it with the central player. We, in fact, were very early, and we conceptualized Digital Sky in 2018. This platform essentially is which will be used for registration, for getting all the drone pilot training organization approvals, including drone pilot license. And obviously, when you look at drones, it's very important to know whether you are flying, the area in which you are flying is safe or not, which essentially comes from the most important point, the crux of this entire regulation, which is airspace maps. Finally, India will have a map much similar to Google Maps, where you will be able to log into an app or a website, and probably it will detect a location, and at that location, you will know visually whether it is a red zone, yellow zone, or a green zone. And depending on that, you will be able to plan whether you require a permission or not. So that is what the digital sky is all about. And obviously in the future, as various complex technologies do come in, and there is a need for setting up drone corridors. Let's say we want to fly drones at 1,000 feet. At 1,000 feet, the area is going to be treated as yellow zone, not as green zone. Even in the area which is designated as green zone, digital sky will actually help us mark a particular highway in the air and fly drones through that highway. And an interactive platform like this, very technology driven, rather than paper driven, is actually going to speed up all these processes and define SLAs and define timelines in which all of these procedures and approvals can be granted.
So, Nagendran, is this going to be India's gift to the global skies?
I think the idea behind the our government vision is also we wanted to be a drone hub for the world. I think this is the first pathway to achieve that. and now we are getting all new freedom to do the R&D. This particular draft rules which today we have got, it is talking about starting from the flying taxi, the drone corridor. So it covers almost all the future aspect of it. I second the opinion of Smith also. He was talking that India is really good in the digital and the software side. We are also trying to put a lot more strength in that area and see that how we can pitch into the global market. And really there is a vision from the government also on the stepping this ecosystem to a hub of the world, drone hub of the world.
With that, Smith and Nagendran, I'd like to thank you both for joining us live on this edition of Startup Central. Good to have you both on the show. We wanted to get a sense of how important these changes in regulations are. You both seem very enthused. That's the Drone Federation we've got for you, as well as someone who's trying to pioneer medicine delivery using drones. Let's see how all of this pans out. The digital sky concept, India trying to take a leap. A Google Maps of sorts. Google Maps meets air traffic control. I think that's the best way to try and explain it. It's interactive. You figure out the controls, you figure out the traffic, so you can fly those drones. Thanks a lot for joining us.